Ravens flock. We managed to escape Dallas with the win yesterday, and it's a shame that we even have to view it as we escaped or we survived. But as we've seen in the past several years, we were on the brink of another collapse late in the game where we almost blew a 22-point lead. But I wanted to first start with the positives from the game. Number one, Derrick Henry. He looked like vintage Derrick Henry in this game, which was exciting to see. He was averaging 6 yards a carry. He had 150 rushing yards. He even caught a pass that he took about 23 yards upfield, which I was excited to see because I wanted us to be a little less predictable when it came to us putting in Derrick and Justice Hill. Obviously in the past couple weeks, it was so clear that anytime Justice Hill was in, we were passing, and anytime Derrick was in, we were running. So I wanted to see them mix it up and give Justice more carries and give Derrick Henry, a couple opportunities to catch some passes like the one he caught in the game. And it did work out on that end. We still didn't give Justice as much runs as I would have liked, but Justice still was making plays as well. On the few runs he did get, he was getting a lot of yards he was catching a couple short passes and taking it upfield. He's become somebody that Lamar and Monk can clearly trust a lot in scenarios where the play's breaking down and Lamar needs somebody to check down to. Another positive, of course, is Kyle Van Noy. Even though he's like 100 years old, he's tapped into the fountain of youth, and despite the fact that he just had like an eye injury just like a week ago or whatever, he came out and he balled out. He At least in the early part of the game, he balled out. He got 2 sacks. So he was looking great out there. Nnamdi Madubuike, he should have got that sack. That was clearly a safety, but they decided for whatever reason to not call it that, which was just completely ridiculous. Also, another positive note, Nelson Aguilar, he had a very impressive play where he made a guy miss. He showed that he still got that track speed. Took a he took what should have been like a 8 yard pass, and he took it up like 50 yards. It was almost a touchdown, but it came a little short. It came up a little short. Lamar and Rashad Bateman actually connected on a touchdown, which was shocking to see. It was interesting how it played out because it seemed like a similar scenario to week one with the Chiefs, where Lamar kind of missed, not kind of, he blatantly missed the pass that we all thought was for Zay, but Lamar claims that it was really for Bateman, which I don't know. I think Lamar was lying, but again, we at this point we don't know, but it was a similar scenario again, but this time he actually connected with Bateman on the touchdown, so it was nice to see Lamar get multiple people involved. We really didn't throw the ball a lot for most of the game. We really didn't need to. We were just running all over them. Now, to switch to the parts, to the more negative parts, or the parts that I didn't really like to see, even though I was happy that we were running the ball effectively, which is what I wanted us to do, I still don't like scenarios where I see Lamar running for, like, he had 14 carries in this game. Again, now, Derrick Henry did have 25 carries, so obviously we did lean on Derrick more, but this is what I mean like a minute ago when I said that I think Justice Hill should get more carries than he's currently getting, because now granted, Lamar's runs, several of them were scrambles, but this is still unacceptable. We should not see Lamar carrying the ball 14 times. We just saw in week one, he had 18 carries and he had to miss like 2, 3 days of practice after the game because he was sore. He should not be out here running the ball. At, at the most, Lamar should only be running the ball maybe 5 times a game at this point. Give it to Derrick Henry and give it to Justice Hill. Justice Hill's doing just fine. Give him more touches. We just paid him. He's looking explosive. He's making plays happen on the few chances that he does get. He's clearly a team player. He's willing to block. So I would like to see Justice Hill get more involved and see less rushes from Lamar, because at this point in his career, 14 carries in a game. Like, we're only 3 weeks into the season, and Lamar already has like 40 or 45 carries more or less. That's not something I want to see at this point. Now, as far as us falling apart in the game, I mean, this defense is embarrassing. And I don't really want to blame Zach Orr because number one, he's a rookie head coach. I mean, a rookie defensive coordinator. And we've seen a similar thing with Mike McDonald, but that's what makes me think that this is really Harbaugh's fault. Because again, what I think happened in the Mike McDonald era was I think when Mike first got there, Harbaugh kept putting his paw prints on everything and forcing Mike to do what he wanted to do, and we were getting lit up. And as John started to trust Mike a little more, or as the front office started to trust Mike a little more, they gave him a little more freedom, and that's when Mike really became the Mike McDonald that we now know, who was the best defensive coordinator in football, and now he's with the Seahawks, building up their defense and making them a powerhouse. I'm seeing this. It seems like a similar things happening with Zach Orr. I wish that we would have, and I've said this several times. I would have rather us just fire John Harbaugh and make Mike McDonald the new head coach. And this is nothing personal against Zach Orr because again, he's just getting started. So hopefully he does get it together quickly. But we are not in a position where we could afford to drop many more games. Honestly, and we were so close to dropping another game. And it was clearly the defense's fault. And I don't want to put it all on Orr because, like I said, I think this is really Harbaugh. Because Harbaugh really, even though Harbaugh isn't good for anything, Harbaugh does strike us all as one of those coaches who does want to influence coaches to do what he wants to do and run the type of scheme that he wants them to run, if you catch what I'm saying. So it was sad to see that our defense has no closers. Like I look around at this defense, like this is a $500 million defense. Like, like we're not pointing this out enough. Like this is a $500 million defense. Like Roquan Smith is making $100 million. He's not a closer. Namdi Matabike, I like Namdi. He's one of my favorite players, but he's also not. He's not a closer. I think Odafe always having a great start to the season so far. But even he showed flashes in previous seasons that he may be a closer, but not consistently and not so far this year, so he's not a closer either. Kyle Hamilton is arguably my favorite player on the defense. He's not a closer either. Marlon Humphrey's not a closer. Marcus Williams is not a closer. We have no closers on this defense. And that is very frustrating and concerning because this defense is getting a lot of money. This defense costs $500 million, man. Roquan's $100 million man. Namdi Matabike is $100 million man. Marlon Humphrey's $100 million man. Marcus Williams is a $70 million man. Like we got players on all levels of the defense who are making top dollar, and nobody on this defense we can be trusted to close the game out. And I was still seeing, yesterday when I was looking at all the different like live streams from different like Ravens YouTubers, I was still seeing some people saying that, well, the offense needs to help them out and keep them off the field more. And I'm like, I just think that's a ridiculous argument to make at this point. Our offense spotted them a 22-point lead. And they almost blew the whole thing in one quarter. We almost became the Atlanta Falcons. This would have been a complete disaster. And this is another reason why many of us want John Harbaugh gone. Is because he keeps trying to play it safe. We should not be out here playing. We're like the only team left in the NFL that's still trying to play it safe. All these other teams, when they have the type of game that we had yesterday for the first 3 quarters or the first 2.5 quarters, they don't take their foot off the gas. We easily should have been able to score 40 plus points yesterday. But instead, the last like 16, 18 minutes of the game, we didn't score at all. It's a third down situation, and instead of us being more aggressive and trying to really get that first down, we run the ball. And some people may say, oh, well, we were averaging 6 yards a carry. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You see that in that game, they at a certain point they started to at least try to crash in on Derrick Henry. You can't trust him. Well, you can trust him, but you can't trust our O line at that point in the game. Especially because they were desperate. And now Justin Tucker is washed. We can't look now, he's not a bad kicker, obviously. He's still perfect from anything 40 yards or closer. But the days of us getting bailed out by Justin Tucker are over. And this is another reason why I have a problem with John Harbaugh choosing to play it safe and be conservative towards the end of the game. Because part of the reason he does that is because he thinks at the end of the day, no matter what, we're gonna get bailed out by Justin. How many more missed kicks do you have to see before you want to accept that Justin is washed? He's not that same guy anymore. He's not that guy who anything 66 yards or closer is in his range. Those days are over. And we shouldn't be surprised. He's been like, this is like his 14th season. This is like his 13th or 14th season. Eventually, this was going to happen. And this happens to many kickers. No matter how good they are, one day they just start missing, and most of the time they don't recover. They just, they just fall off. They're just not that guy anymore. Now, I'm not saying that Justin can't recover because anything's possible, but it's unlikely, and we shouldn't sit around hoping and waiting that that happens. So again, I did not like seeing us be so conservative to end this game out. We should have kept our foot on their necks. And this is a major problem and this is a major reason why we have the most double digit blown fourth quarter leads over the past 4 years. This is exactly why. Because once we get these leads, John Harbaugh, he still has this old school approach where he thinks we're just gonna, run the ball, punt the ball, bleed the clock out, and it'll work out. Like that's not the team that you have. And some people may defend that and say, no, that's the right thing to do. You don't know football. Listen, it's a case by case situation. You have to look around and see, hey, this defense can't stop anybody. They can't stop anybody. We have the worst pass defense in football. Tight ends are killing us. We can't stop anybody. And since we can't stop anybody, we can't trust them to close a game out. In order to be that conservative, you need to know without a shadow of a doubt that you have closers on defense who can stop the game, stop the other team and close the game out. We don't have that. And if we don't have that, we got to still have an aggressive mentality where we have to keep scoring no matter what. Like what we did last year versus the Dolphins. That type of game is what we need to be doing every single week. We got some momentum and we started crushing them, and we put our foots on their neck until the very end. We can't call it a day and start playing it safe on offense and defense 3 quarters into the game when this defense can't stop anybody when it matters most. Like, we got to do better than that, man. This defense is giving up 25 points a game. Like, this defense is giving up 25 points a game. It doesn't matter if you're a great team, a good team, or a bad team like the Raiders. We're giving up 25 points minimum to everybody. This is not good. We can't keep doing this. Because if we keep playing these type of games, this season will collapse on us. We got to go play Buffalo next week on prime time. If we don't really start getting it together, and that's another thing. As far as John Harbaugh's stubbornness, he still was trying to put Lele in the game. Now Lele, he played he played fairly well. Like he at least looked somewhat better than he did in previous weeks, but he's still not the guy that needs to be in that game as a starter. This is John Harbaugh being stubborn. And they know that he's not that guy, because the only reason Derrick Henry was having success consistently was because they kept running to the left side of the field over and over again. And on top of that, we didn't pass a whole lot, so they didn't get exposed in pass protection. But this O-line is still a problem. And again, John Harbaugh was still being stubborn about it. But I don't know. I've gone on long enough. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Were you satisfied with this win, or do you think we need to do better? And what changes do you think may be necessary before this Buffalo Bills game next week?